Hello and welcome back to Dracula, but in Baltimore and a fish tank. We have a very long entry today from Miss Mina Murray's journal dated 1st of August. I came up here an hour ago with Lucy, and we had a most interesting talk with my old friend and the two others who always come and join him. He is evidently the Sir Oracle of them, and I should think must have been, in his time, a most dictatorial person. He will not admit anything and downfaces everybody. If he can't out-argue them, he bullies them and then takes their silence for agreement with his views. We've probably all known someone like that. Lucy was looking sweetly pretty in her white lawn frock. In her white lawn frock. That's a type of dress. She has got a beautiful color since she has been here. I noticed that the old men did not lose any time in coming up and sitting near her when we sat down. She is so sweet with old people. I think they all fell in love with her on the spot. Even my old man succumbed and did not contradict her, but gave me double share instead. I got him on the subject of the legends, and he went off at once into a sort of sermon. I must try to remember it and put it down. It be all fool talk, lock, stock, and barrel. That's what it be, and nowt else. These bands and wafts are bogos and barguests and bogles, and all anentum is only fit to set barns and dizzy women a beldering. They be nowt but air blibs. They and all grims and signs and warnings be all invented by persons and ilsome buick bodies and railway touters to scare and scunner halflings and to get folks to do something that they don't other inclined to. It makes me ireful to think of them. Why, to them that, not content with printing lies on paper and preaching them out of pulpits, does want to be cutting them on the tombstones. Look here, all around you, in what art you will, all them steens, holding up their heads as well as they can out of their pride, is a cant, simply tumbling down with the weight of the lies wrote on them. Here lies the body, or sacred to the memory, wrote on all of them, and yet in nigh half of them there bean't no bodies at all, and the memories of them bean't cared a pinch of snuff about, much less sacred. Lies, all of them, nothing but lies of one kind or another. My gog, but it'll be a queer scoundrelment at the day of judgment when they all come tumbling up here in their death sarks, all jooped together and trying to drag their tombstones with them to prove how good they was. Some of them trembling and dithering with their hands at dozen and slippery from lying in the sea that they can't even keep their grip of 'em. I could see from the old fellow's self-satisfied air, then the way in which he looked around for the approval of his cronies, that he was showing off. So I put in a word to keep him going. "Oh, Mr. Swales, you can't be serious. Surely these tombstones are not all wrong." "Yablins! There may be a poorish few not wrong, savin' where they make out the people too good, but there be folk that do think a bomb bowl be like the sea, if only it be their own. The whole thing be only lies. Now look you here. You come here, stranger, and you see this kirk garth." I nodded, though I thought it better to assent, although I did not quite understand his dialect. I knew it had something to do with the church. He went on, "And you consult that all these steens be aboon folk that be happen here snod and snog?" I assented again. "Then that be just where the lie comes in. Why, there be scores of these lay beds that be toom as old Dunk's bacca box on Friday night." He nudged one of his companions, and they all laughed. "And my gog, how could they be otherwise? Look at that one. The aft is a bat, the beer banks. Read it." I went over and read. "Edward Spenslaw, master mariner, murdered by pirates off the coast of Andre, April 1854 at 30. When I came back, Mr. Swales went on. "Who brought him home, I wonder, to happen here? Murdered off the coast of Andres. Are you consecrated his body, Leander? Why, I could name you a dozen whose bones lie in the Greenland seas above." he pointed northwards, or where the currents may have drifted him. There be the steens around you. You can, with your young eyes, read the small print of the lies from here. This Braithwaite Lowry, I knew his father, lost in the lively off Greenland in 20, or Andrew Woodhouse, drowned in the same season, 1777, or John Paxton, drowned off Cape Farewell a year later, or old John Rawlins, whose grandfather sailed with me, drowned in the Gulf of Finland in 50. Do you think that all these men will have to make a rush to Annapolis when the trumpet sounds? I have me anthorins about it. I tell you that when they got here, they'll be jommeling and jostling one another. That way it'd be like a fight up on the ice in the old days when we'd be at one another from daylight to dark and trying to tie up our cuts by the light of the aurora borealis. This was evidently local pleasantry, for the old man cackled over it, and his cronies joined in with gusto. But, I said, surely you are not quite correct, for you start on the assumption that all the poor people or their spirits will have to take their tombstones with them on the day of judgment. Do you think that will be really necessary? Well, what else be they tombstones for? Answer me that, miss. To please their relatives, I suppose. To please their relatives, you suppose. This he said with intense scorn. How will it pleasure their relatives to know that lies is wrote over them and that everybody in the place know they be lies? He pointed to a stone at our feet which had been laid down as a slab on which the seat was rested close to the edge of the cliff. Read the lines on that, Thruffstein, he said. The letters were upside down to me from where I sat, but Lucy was more opposite to them, so she leant over and read. Sacred to the memory of George Canaan, who died, in the hope of a glorious resurrection, on July 29th, 1873, falling from the rocks at Kettleness. This tomb is erected by his sorrowing mother to her dearly beloved son. He was the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. Really, Mr. Swales, I don't see anything very funny in that. She spoke her comment very gravely and somewhat severely. You don't see aught funny, ha ha! But that's 'cause you don't gone the soaring mother was a hellcat that hated him because he was a crooked, a regular landminer he was, and he hated her so that he committed suicide. Oh my goodness gracious. So that he committed suicide in order that she mightn't get an insurance she put on his life. He blew nigh the top of his head off with an old musket that they had for scaring the crows with. 'Twarn't for crows then, for about the clegs and the douse down to him. That's the way he fell off the rocks. And as to hopes of a glorious resurrection, I've often heard myself that he hoped he'd go to hell, for his mother was so pious. Excuse me. His mother was so pious that she'd be sure to go to heaven, and he didn't want to addle where she was. Now, isn't that Steen at any rate? He hammered it with his stick as he spoke. A pack of lies? And won't it make Gabriel cackle when Geordie comes panting up the grease with the tombstone balanced on his hump and asks it to be took as evidence? I did not know what to say, but Lucy turned the conversation, as she said, raising up. Oh, why did you tell us of this? It is my favorite seat, and I cannot leave it. And now I find I must go on sitting over the grave of a suicide. That won't harm you, my pretty, and it may make poor Geordie gladsome to have so trim a lass sitting on his lap. That won't hurt you. Why, I've sat here off and on for nigh 20 years past, and it hain't done me no harm. Don't you fash about them as lies under you, or that doesn't lie under there either. It'll be time for you to be getting skirt when you see the tombsteins all run away with and the place as bare as a stubble field. There's the clock, and I must gang. My service to you, ladies, and off he hobbled. Lucy and I sat a while, and it was all so beautiful before us that we took hands as we sat, and she told me all over again about Arthur and their coming marriage. That made me just a little heartsick, for I haven't heard from Jonathan for a whole month. That entry has some very interesting ideas in it. Have you ever heard that on Judgment Day we need to bring our gravestones with us to be judged? I think that would be loco. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope to see you again very soon.